Did our Lord Jesus establish a church? Oh, yes, he did. We heard that in the gospel today. Our Lord Jesus says, I tell you, you are Peter, and on this rock I will build my church. Jesus built a church on the rock of St. Peter. And he goes on to say, and we might see something of the carpenter in our Lord Jesus. We know our Lord Jesus worked as a carpenter. His trade was carpentry before he began his public ministry. And carpenters take pride in building things well. If a carpenter is going to build a table, it's going to be a solid table. It's not going to fall apart or break. Or if a carpenter builds a house, it's going to be built well. Our Lord Jesus goes on to say, and the gates of Hades will not prevail against it. In other words, he's the divine architect and engineer. When our Lord Jesus decides to build something, oh, you better believe it will be built well. It's not going to collapse. It will endure through all the tribulations and trials and seasons and persecutions or whatever else. When our Lord Jesus builds a church, it will endure. And it's quite remarkable. He chose a fisherman to lead the church. Not only a fisherman, but a fisherman, Peter, who's kind of rough around the edges. The Gospels make no attempt to hide that. Peter wasn't perfect. The Gospels, again, you could say, proclaim that. I don't even think Peter was ashamed of that. I bet you Peter was proud to say after the Pentecost, to say, hey, I walked on water and then I took my eyes off Jesus and I fell through. I'm sure he was glad to say that. Maybe he even got a little bit of amusement out of the listeners. Our Lord Jesus chose an imperfect, rough around the edge fisherman who sometimes put his foot in the mouth to lead the church. How has that worked out? Well, pretty good. Church is still here. We've had a lot of saintly popes. We've had some very good popes. We had good popes. We had some not so good popes. We had a few bad popes. But overall, we still have the church today. And I think most of us, we know the Catholic Church isn't going anywhere. There was a lot of times where a lot of people thought, ooh, this is the end of Catholicism. This is the end of this institution, this old-fashioned hierarchical institution. It won't be around much longer. Well, it's still here. And again, most of us, we know it's not going anywhere because it was built by the divine architect and engineer. And I was thinking, the idea of choosing an imperfect, rough around the edges fisherman who likes to put his foot in his mouth off, and there's a lot of, you could say, reasons for that, or you can see some of the genius in that. I could probably list 10 or 20, but I'll just mention one that came to me. Maybe it's so that we would take Peter, the Pope, seriously because Jesus appointed him, but we wouldn't take him too seriously. The Pope's human. He's not perfect. Everyone knows that. Are you perfect? Am I perfect? No one's perfect. And maybe there's something that the Lord's saying, hey, I'm putting in charge a normal human being, a broken human being, an imperfect human being, a good man, Peter, who was a man of faith, proclaims that Jesus is the Messiah, but he's human. And part of it is, guess what? Peter is, the one leading the church, but ultimately, Jesus never left us. He said, I am with you always. He continues to work signs and wonders. He pours out his Spirit. The Spirit teaches us all things. And so, guess what? Jesus is still in charge of the church. Some people, they get a little freaked out. If the Pope says something or does something, they get a little freaked out. And my thing is, hey, God's still in charge of the church. God's taking care of his church. Don't worry. He's omnipotent. He's all powerful. He'll take care of the church, even with, imperfect people in leadership. All of us, we're not perfect. And so today it's a beautiful celebration. And let me just end on a kind of a extra happy note. who here has been to the Vatican, Rome? Oh, what a wonderful opportunity, what a wonderful thing to go to St. Peter's Basilica. So beautiful, and we're children of God. It's our church, and to see, all the beautiful statues of St. Peter, and to rub his, feet there or whatever, and then to go to the other holy places, and to go to holy places throughout the world, beautiful shrines, and we have, so many beautiful feasts, and we have the saints and the angels, and the Catholic Church that our Lord Jesus established. Oh, what a beautiful thing. I love the Catholic Church. I love the Catholic Church because it's from God. It's a gift from God. It's a beautiful Catholic Church. Again, we're not perfect. We make mistakes. We've been making mistakes throughout the ages, but at the end of the day, out of love for us, our Lord Jesus established the church. And he wants us to stay with his church, because the gates of Hades will not prevail against it.